As far as the burning, the chemical, the skimming, do you believe that that is sufficient to control all of the oil leaking?
Well, what we're doing right now, we've actually had very good weather the last 2 days, and you can see through the numbers I've reported that we're making good progress. But we also reported earlier today that we think we'll see oil strike land sometime before the end of the week. So what we're doing at the moment is ramping up our activities to deploy boom and get ready to clean up oil if it reaches the beach.
Admiral, you said that the oil, in NOAA's estimation, is increasing by a factor of 5, yet BP says it's not increasing at all. Which one is it?
It's important to understand this is an estimate, and my NOAA Scientific Support Coordinator is the person I use for planning for the amount of oil spilled. Originally, the Unified Command, working with the NOAA Scientific Support Coordinator, BP, and the Minerals and Management Service, initially we agreed the estimate was 1,000 barrels per day. Working with NOAA daily with overflights, applying dispersants, looking at the trajectories, where's the oil going, factoring in the weather. There's a lot of variables in this. This is not an exact science when you estimate the amount of oil. However, NOAA is telling me now they prefer we use 5,000 barrels a day as an estimate for what's actually leaked from this well, and will continue to leak until BP secures the source.
Sir, can you comment on that, please?
Wait. Do we have another question over here?
Yeah, I'd like to follow up if I may.
Okay,
Sir, could you, I mean, that didn't, with all due respect, that didn't answer the question. You say it's 1,000, it hasn't changed, and you say it's 5,000. So.
No, actually, I don't think the Admiral and I have actually said different things. So I think what the Admiral stated is that when we had the initial data, it's highly uncertain. As I described, there's no way to put a meter on this flow rate. So the only thing we can do is make very basic estimates at the subsurface, monitor it, and actually then start to see what we see on the surface, and that's what we're doing. But that range is quite wide on what the outcome could be. What I can tell you for certain is what we're observing at the seabed is the same as what we were observing when we first reported the 2 locations. The only difference is this new leak point. But I do not disagree with the Admiral's estimate that it could be 5,000 barrels a day. It's clearly within the range of uncertainty. And actually, the only thing we know for certain is what we see on the surface. And of course, that's what we're trying to pick up. So I actually don't think we're saying something different. It's all about the uncertainty and inability to precisely measure this.
Are you still using the blowout preventer that you put in for Transocean?
Well, just to be clear, the blowout preventer is actually Transocean's blowout preventer. It was their drilling rig and their blowout preventer. We're still working on that blowout preventer literally as we speak to try to close it in, but we're also working other options as we've described before.
Okay, at this time we're going to go to the phone lines, please.
Thank you. If you would like to ask a question on the phone, you can press *1. And our first question is from Anthony Giggle with Upstream Oil and Gas Newspaper.
Yes, regarding the efforts at the BOP, given that the intervention with the ROV thus far has so far been unsuccessful, at what point, well, first of all, what does that tell you as far as the possible status of the BOP internally, and given that it's been unsuccessful at this point, what confidence can you have that any future efforts will have any positive effect?
No, it's a perfectly understandable question. I mean, like everyone, we want to bring this thing to conclusion as quickly as we can. Until we run out of options to try to stop the flow of oil at the BOP, we won't stop. We won't stop, no matter how unlikely they are to be successful. But that's also why we've been pursuing other options to stop the flow, because we don't know if we'll be successful there. We cannot see inside this blowout preventer to determine what damage is there. But until we run out of options, and today, as I stand here today, we're executing another one just now, we will continue to try, because the best thing to do is to stop the flow there. But as we've talked about previously, we're also working a collection system if it were to continue to flow while we drill a relief well to ultimately make the well secure.
I'm sorry, we're with the phones now. Operator, go ahead.
Our next question is Campbell Robertson. Your line's open.
Hi, just asking if this continues at this rate, and the estimates go up, and if the federal government feels that things are being done at a quick enough pace, is there? I mean, what sort of happens with BP being responsible for the cleanup, but if the federal government is becoming less and less satisfied with the rate, is there anything that could happen here in terms of federal intervention at a higher degree than it is already?
Well, maybe I'm sure the Admiral would probably like to address that question, but what I can actually tell you is we're actually applying every resource available to us. I welcome the government's offer of help with the Department of Defense. We're open to all ideas. We're reaching out across the oil and gas industry to find additional ideas and ways to do this, because we're progressing this absolutely as fast as we can. So if there's additional resources or additional ideas to bring this to conclusion, we welcome those.
And let me speak to the comprehensive framework under the Oil Pollution Act of 1990. The Federal On-Scene Coordinator has a role, along with consulting with the states, to oversee BP's efforts in responding to the spill. The responsible party has the financial resources and is applying the financial resources to respond to the spill. If at any time the state or the federal government is not satisfied that we have enough resources on scene to respond to the spill, we can apply pressure and request of BP that they bring those resources to bear. I have to say that BP has asked for everything that we have recommended be brought to bear based on the plans that everybody has in place. They've brought the resources, and we've never been in a position yet where anything we wanted has not been brought to bear.
Okay, operator, we have time for one last question, please.
And the next question is Ben Castleman. Your line is open.
Yes, hello, thank you. I was wondering, is there a clear indication of whether this was a new leak or just a newly discovered leak?
No, once again, a good question. Actually, it's a newly discovered leak. The location of the leak we've monitored continuously since the rig sank. Actually not many hours after the rig caught on fire. So I'm very, very confident this leak is new, that it's something that was not there just actually earlier this afternoon.